Hello and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here for the first time, welcome. I'm so happy you're here. My name's Hannah, and on this channel I post a lot of content about anti-MLM, so as always I have a playlist linked here and down below. Big anti-MLM playlist. Every video on the topic can be found there, but for example, if these horror story videos are your favorite, there are smaller playlists broken down by type of video on my channel as well. And in saying that, today's video is another MLM horror stories. These are experiences that viewers have had with MLM companies. They write out that experience, they send it to me, and I choose a few to be read in these videos. So if at any point you have your own story you would like to send in, check out the description box below and you can find the instructions there. And with that, let's get to reading. This story says, "Hello Hannah, thank you for all the work you do exposing MLM companies. Your content is always interesting to listen to on my morning commute. I'd prefer if you keep me anonymous if you choose to use my story. I have two short stories to share with you today. The first story shows a different impact of MLMs that I haven't seen discussed. I am a fiber artist and I have run a small legitimate business for the past 7 years. I sell my art online and at craft fairs. While I don't make much money on my business, it's more than enough to pay for my crafting supplies and to have a little bit left over. It'll never replace my actual job, but that's how I like it because my business gives me the freedom to create." As to be expected, the pandemic had a huge impact on the craft fairs. Before the pandemic hit, craft fairs were usually judged events, meaning the organizers would choose which vendors they wanted at their event rather than it being a first come, first served. That's interesting. I did not know that. I thought like anyone could just sign up to get a booth and there wasn't really any kind of vetting process that went into it. That's interesting. This meant that the events were well balanced with a good selection of artisans. Everything changed after the pandemic hit. Many of the shows either never survived the pandemic or were now run by new people. The ethos changed from organizations hosting 1 or 2 carefully curated craft fairs a year to monthly or weekly, lower quality events focusing more on selling booths than attracting artists. Organizers realized that there was an overabundance of MLM Huns who were more than willing to buy up booth space. The organizers were able to make more money by selling more booths without needing to spend the time to actually review applications. Some of these craft fairs are even run by MLM Huns. At an event last year, only 3 of us out of 35 booths were artisans. All 32 remaining booths were MLMs. Potential customers would start to walk up to the event, see all the MLM booths, make a stinky face, and turn and walk away. With no customers to sell to, the 32 MLM Huns decided to try to recruit us artisans into their MLMs. It was miserable and was the very first time in 7 years of selling that I did not make back booth costs. While that show was the worst I've seen, that ethos has perpetuated through most of the craft fair circuit, which has deteriorated by the year. Fortunately, now I know what to look for. I have several annual events locked into place that are like the good old days. This story is strikingly similar to one that I read in MLM Horror Stories 62, also about craft fairs, but it was written from the perspective of somebody who likes to attend craft fairs and who doesn't necessarily set up her own booth. And she was saying in that video that they kind of came up with a good solution to this. The organizers of the craft fair kind of sectioned off the MLM booths and put them in a completely different area that you would have to make an actual effort to go to if you wanted to see them. And I want to reiterate that here because I think that is such a good solution to this problem. I mean, a better solution would be to ban MLM booths completely, but I don't see that happening realistically. Because like you said, the organizers of the fair are selling these booths like crazy because MLM reps want to buy them out. So they're making money, they're letting MLM reps in, but the unintended consequence of that you're writing about here is that people will walk up and they'll be like, "Oh, never mind. I see all these MLMs. That's not what I'm here for. That was not my goal." And that hurts the actual artists who came with their actual pieces, who in my opinion have earned more of a right to be there than the MLM reps do. On one hand, I kind of like to hear that people walk up and go, "Oh no." That's a good thing. That's a good sign that people are walking up, recognizing the names of these things and actively choosing to avoid them. That is ultimately what we want. But in this kind of dynamic, it's hurting the actual artisans, and that part's not good. So I don't know, I guess my point is saying that if you're a customer walking up to these things, maybe don't write off the whole craft fair. There might be some gems in there that aren't MLM companies. Give it a chance, walk through anyway, even though it's annoying to dodge all these bullets. And maybe on the off chance that there are craft fair organizers watching this video, maybe you can consider putting a ban on MLM companies, or you can at least consider kind of sectioning them off in their own private area that people can choose to subject themselves to if they want to, but it's not going to be harming all the actual artists at that craft fair. My second story is a bit more personal. Outside of crafting, I'm also an avid cosplayer. I've been in the cosplay community for well over a decade decade. Over that time, I've generated a modest following from various events and appearances. For the last year, I've been fighting cancer. Knowing that my treatments would impact my content, I announce my diagnosis on my social media platforms and give the occasional updates. The day that I posted my announcement, the floodgates were opened and a torrent of "Hey hun" messages entered my DMs. I couldn't tell you most of the companies since I deleted the messages as soon as I realized what they were, but the general sentiments were the same. The majority of the messages were from supplement MLMs telling me that they could cure my cancer. Other Huns claimed that I would never have to worry about medical bills if I would just sign up to sell for their company. Still, others said that essential oils would not only cure my cancer, but would protect my family from getting cancer too. As if cancer is a transmissible disease. It was disgusting. On a side note, while I still have a long road ahead of me, my doctors are positive about my prognosis. If everything goes according to plan, I should be cancer-free by the end of the year, all without touching a single supplement or essential oil. Thanks again for all you do, and give Zeke a couple extra pets for me. Well, I'm really happy to hear that. Thank you for including that little last bit there. I'm wishing you nothing but health and happiness, and that your road to recovery is a smooth one, and that you can be cancer-free by the end of the year. That would be incredible. What I just cannot get past is that essential oil reps are claiming that it will prevent your family members from getting cancer too, as if it's contagious. That is ridiculous. They can't possibly believe that the cancer is contagious, right? I have some pretty serious questions about where they're getting their information from if they think that's how cancer works. And then naturally, I would have even more questions about where they're getting their information from regarding the fact that oils can cure cancer. Delusional, absolutely ridiculous. And I apologize on behalf of all of these people that reached out to you after you announced your cancer diagnosis, blatantly and explicitly preying on you for that. Oh, my supplements can help, my oils can help, my business opportunity can help financially. That is disgusting. They saw your post and immediately saw dollar signs. They're like, cha-ching, 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 here's my opportunity. They've got cancer, now's the time to pounce. Who acts like that? In what world is that acceptable? The MLM world, apparently. I could go into all the reasons as to why these kinds of claims are false. MLM products are not going to cure your cancer. MLM opportunities are not going to pay your bills, but you already know that. When it all comes down to it, the people benefiting the most from you signing up for these things are going to be these people that preyed on your vulnerabilities. They're not really in it to help you. They're in it for their own financial interest. They're not even trying to hide their intent here. They're like, here's the post, here's the announcement, here's how I'm going to prey on it, here's how I'm going to pounce. Now's my time. I've got to make my move. Like, how gross is that? I'm wishing you all the best. Thank you for writing in this story, and I will give Zeke a couple extra pets for you. This one says, "Hey Hannah, my name is blank. I would like it if my name would remain anonymous. Thank you for reading my story and considering it. I came across your channel last year because I always fall asleep to YouTube videos. One night, YouTube had recommended one of your videos to me. I was running out of my usual scam call videos that I watch, so I was like, might as well dabble into a different kind of scam video for the night. I immediately became hooked on your videos. I find your voice very soothing and it puts me right to sleep, and I mean that in the very best way. Anyway, after listening to the MLM horror stories, I figured that it was time to share my own. Luckily in this story, no one was financially harmed, but I will say that mentally it did do some damage. I was about 13 or 14 when this happened, so it was right around the time when you were just way too aware of your body and how gross you feel in it. My mom was not doing the best financially at that time, so we were living with a family friend until my mom was able to get back on her feet. It was not an ideal situation for me, but I was that kid that always found a reason to be happy no matter how crappy my situation was. A couple months after living with the family friend, let's call her Martha, I began noticing some containers of these powders from Herbalife. Now, I didn't think too much of it as it wasn't really my business to be concerned about. Martha began to rave about these protein shakes and teas and how it was helping with her diabetes and how she was even losing weight. The whole time I'm looking at her like, I'm not seeing a change, you still look the same, but go off, sis. One day my mom and sister had to work late and there was no one else in the house other than her son. No hate on him, but that guy gave me the creeps, so I honestly didn't want to stay in the house alone with him. I asked to tag along on her little errand run. Little did I know that I would be stuck going to an Herbalife meeting in some strange rented out space that smelled like damp lint and loose change. I was seeing these people show PowerPoints of all the trips they've taken, all the money they've been able to make, and all the benefits of Herbalife and how life-changing this product was. I saw how bright-eyed Martha got and how excited she got about these bogus claims that the reps were making. When the meeting was finally over, this lady came over to Martha and began talking to her, pretending like she cared about Martha's health issues and making it seem like Herbalife was the answer to her problems. This lady even had the audacity to ask if she could stop by Martha's house because she wanted to use her house to host a party. Of course, Martha was all for it, and they immediately set a date for the party. About a week later, this woman showed up to Martha's house with a little suitcase of products and about 3 other people. I unfortunately made the mistake of being in the house at the time. This lady was talking about the powders as if they were some sort of magic potion. It was very off-putting to me, and I was trying to stay invisible the whole time. But in true MLM rep fashion, she had to test out her products on me. I used to have a lot of acne back in the day, and I was really self-conscious about it. So when this woman pointed it out, I immediately became a little insecure. She sat me down on a chair and had everyone look at my face and pointed out every pimple and everything that was wrong with my face. How humiliating. Who does that? She took out this thing and started applying it to my face. With her first swipe on my face, she enthusiastically said, "Wow, guys, you see? It's already doing something." And everyone in the room agreed with her like little robots or something. Now, I'm not sure if this product was from Herbalife or some other MLM. I'm assuming it was Herbalife because that's what she was pitching at the time. She continued doing my whole face, and then she took a damp towel and wiped my face clean like I was some dirty countertop. She just had everyone convinced that there was such a difference to my face. I immediately went to the bathroom to look at myself so I could see the magic. I literally remember looking at my face and saying out loud, "My face literally looks the same." I went back outside and she immediately looked at me and said, "You see the difference, right? I am my mother's child, y'all, so that means I'm gonna tell you something as it is. I will hide nothing and sugarcoat nothing." So my response to her was a plain and simple no. I didn't give her anything else to back up that no. I just stared at her with a straight face and gave her time to talk because I honestly wanted to hear what lies she would come up with. I don't know if it was the way that I bluntly said no that caught her off guard, but she blinked at me for a little bit before she moved on to Martha. After the party ended and all the people left, Martha came up to me and talked to me as if I was in the wrong for saying the truth. She told me that it was rude to her guests and that there really was a change to my face. I didn't say anything back. I just nodded because I know what I saw in the mirror. I was not gonna lie to make another person feel valid. My face was literally the same face that I hated to look at in the mirror, and I hated that for a split second, I began to have a little hope that maybe finally something will rid me of my acne. I genuinely felt disgusted and violated in some way. It was humiliating. Absolutely humiliating. Totally unacceptable to put someone, especially someone of your age, what did you say, 13? You were a young teenager. To put you on the spot, to make everybody look at you, to point out all of your imperfections and your insecurities, and then to basically gaslight you in front of all of these people trying to convince you that this product actually did something, as if you wouldn't know, as if you didn't know your face the best and you look at yourself in the mirror every day. Like, oh no, it really did do something. How dare you say that it didn't? That is ridiculous. And I'm glad that you stood your ground and you said, no, it actually didn't do anything for me. Those people never came back to the house, but Martha was still buying Herbalife for months after that, and she still raved about it. I honestly don't know if Martha still buys Herbalife because her and my mom aren't as close anymore, and we moved away years ago. For her sake, I really hope she realizes all the lies she was sold. I never knew Herbalife was an MLM until I saw your channel, and I was like, huh, it all makes sense now. I'm glad that my first encounter with an MLM was a negative one. I feel like this story can be a warning to others about how these MLM reps can really prey on insecurities, and how if you're an easily influenced person, they will genuinely make you feel like what they are selling you is the cure to whatever you are insecure about. Luckily, she found the wrong 13-year-old that day. I was not about to fall for her manipulative ways. I find it extremely predatory how she thought to call me out and proceeded to put me in front of others and point out a visible insecurity. I'm pretty sure even if I showed a little interest, she would be trying to get Martha to buy her Acne Be Gone cream for me. It also infuriates me how she made all these claims to Martha about how Herbalife was the end-all be-all to her diabetes. Forget insulin, forget checking your blood sugar, forget what the doctor said. Just one Herbalife tea and one Herbalife protein shake a day will fix all of your health issues. I honestly think these people are cruel. At one point, your moral compass has to kick in and you have to tell yourself that no, there are more ethical and respectable ways to make a buck. I shouldn't have to prey on others to get paid. Amen. You said it best. At some point, your moral compass has to kick in. And genuinely, deep down in my soul, I believe that that does happen. I'm a firm believer that people don't spend their entire lives in MLMs. I'm sure it happens on that one rare occasion that somebody's in an MLM for like 40 years or something crazy. But more often than not, people join these things, they realize they're sketchy and scammy, their moral compass kicks in, and they leave. I think that is generally the way that things go. There does come a moment when you start to recognize these red flags, and it's kind of like a one-way street is how I describe it. You're headed down this path, and once you know what you know about MLMs, there is no turning back. You don't know until you know, but once you do know, it's over. Sometimes it takes people getting involved with an MLM and discovering that on their own. Sometimes it's a situation like this where you're kind of caught up in it at 13 years old, and you're already getting that yucky feeling about it, so you know to avoid it in the future. And I like to think or hope that these videos are that light bulb moment for others who may not have gotten into an MLM. Maybe they don't really have a first-hand experience with it. Maybe they don't know fully what it's all about, but they stumble across a video thanks to the YouTube algorithm. They fall down the rabbit hole, they binge all the videos, and now they have this understanding of what this business model is, and now they know to avoid it. So I really appreciate you sending in this story. I appreciate everyone who sends in this story, because without the writers of these stories, this series, MLM Horror Stories, could not exist. So I'm deeply appreciative for everyone who does send in their personal experiences. I'm sorry that this happened to you at such a young age and that it left this humiliating impact on you, but I guess the positive side of that is that here you are today, and you can write out your story and you can share it on this platform to hopefully prevent other people from falling victim to it as well. So thank you. This story says, "Hi Hannah, I wanted to offer a slightly different perspective on the trends of MLM activity. Please keep me anonymous. This will be short but hopefully insightful. I have been interested in anti-MLM content for years. My mother fell victim to an oil company years ago and tried to recruit me as a teenager, but that is not the subject of this email. Despite recognizing that MLMs are inherently predatory and exploitative companies, I've fallen into the mindset recently that anti-MLM content can be overkill and unnecessary, with MLM companies on the decline. This is an unfair and inaccurate assessment, but was a nagging criticism in the back of my mind for some time. Well, I work at a shipping company, so I decided to challenge that thought by counting the number of MLM company packages that were being delivered on my 4 trucks. This was for one shift on February 3rd, 2023. This is not a proper sample size and the math is nothing to swear by, but I believe this is an interesting example of how prevalent MLMs continue to be." Okay, interesting. So you kind of have this feeling like, yeah, we know MLMs are bad. Why are we still talking about it though? Obviously everyone knows MLMs are bad. They're on the decline. There's not a need for this kind of content anymore. But then you said that you decided to challenge that thought by keeping track of how many MLM packages are being shipped out on a single day. That's very interesting. I'm intrigued. Let's see what your results were. I loaded a total volume of 594 packages. At least 80 of those packages were for commercial stops, leaving 514 packages for residential stops at most. We are in a slow season with very low volume, and most packages are Amazon, either with the classic brand packaging or product boxes with their fulfillment services as the address of origin. MLM company packages are easy to spot. Most have a brand name that means nothing but is unique enough to be distinguishable, or a spin on another word or phrase. For example, pharmacy sounds like pharmacy but is otherwise a fake word. Unless it's a founder's name, then I'm wrong about that. Under the brand name is a website like blankinternational.com. The boxes rarely have another product marking to indicate what's inside, like other packages shipped direct from a branded company. I wrote down the ones I recognized as well as others that looked suspicious. I checked the suspicious brands afterwards to confirm whether they had a partner program or a business opportunity. However, the research was brief, so correct me if I'm wrong. Out of 514 packages, there was one from Pharmacy, one from Plexus, one from Optavia, one from Organo Gold, and one from AC. This may seem like nothing, but for comparison, I got between 5 to 10 meal kits from various companies that same shift. I saw one Walmart box, a Walgreens and CVS box, and 3 Staples boxes. Aside from Amazon, there is no singular type of company that has a monopoly on residential stops. For MLM companies to have a consistent presence at all is concerning. It shows that some people are ordering Optavia just as often as they're ordering a monthly meal kit. This was one day, but I see these packages all the time for repeat customers, as well as different companies, including Mary Kay. Despite low volumes and the economic downturn downturn that most of us are struggling with, a percentage of people continue to spend their dwindling funds on MLM products. My hatred for these companies was renewed with these observations, and I'm convinced that they need to be spoken about to reach as wide of an audience as possible. Thank you for your time. What an interesting perspective you have. I'm so appreciative for this story. So in conclusion, basically what I'm gathering from this is that you said you had 514 packages that day. Most of them were Amazon packages. So if we just set them aside, don't count those for a minute. You said you had around 5 to 10 meal kits. You had 6 packages from other retailers like Walmart or CVS or Staples. And then you had 5 that were MLM companies. So if we exclude all the Amazon packages that went out that day, what we're left with is like 1/3 of the remaining packages are for MLM companies and going to people purchasing MLM products. That's very striking to me. I think that's really notable. And like you said, it may seem like nothing. We had one pharmacy box, one Plexus box, whatever. But once you break it down and you categorize it that way, as you said here, we can kind of look at this as people are buying MLM stuff just as regularly as they're buying from retail stores. We're not talking about, oh yeah, once a month, this one lady has her Mary Kay shipment come to her door. No, we're talking about approximately 1/3 of the packages being delivered that aren't Amazon that day are from MLM companies. That's a significant presence. It can seem anecdotally like people know that MLM companies are bad, anti-MLM awareness is growing, less and less people are joining, all of those things. And that's the goal. That's what we want. But then you have a firsthand experience like this where you're seeing that actually people are still buying MLM products pretty regularly. And it appears like the number of packages that are for MLM companies is still significant today. People are still buying this stuff, even though we'd like to believe that less and less people are buying it. And maybe that is still true. Maybe this is less packages going out for MLM companies than 5-10 years ago or whatever, but it's still relevant. It's still a problem that needs to be addressed. People are still wasting their money on MLM crap. So thank you for writing out this really unique perspective. I love stories like this that offer a really specific insight into one specific situation. So thank you for sending it in. This story says, "Hi Hannah, my name is Dante and I recently found your channel and like many other people have been binge watching your videos. I want to thank you for opening my eyes and making me realize all of the countless MLMs I've come in contact with. This story is the worst MLM experience I've had. Trigger warning for eating disorders and weight loss. My mom was a single mother who had just moved us to a small town in a new state with 2 kids. When I say small, I mean small. There weren't many job opportunities, so she would take anything that came her way. She was very overweight, and when she was offered a volunteering position at the local gym that included a free membership, she jumped for joy. Eventually, she worked her way into a paid position. Her boss, we will call her Kay, was very welcoming to her and became the only friend she had in our little town. So of course, she had a lot of admiration and trust for her. And what better opportunity can you have as a hun who peddled weight loss products? When I was around 13, my mom found a really good opportunity that would allow her to own her own company and have a bunch of free time to focus on family and work on her many rotating hobbies. And the best part was Kay was there to help her through it all. Kay sold weight loss coffee, I don't remember the name, in her gym. And all of the little old ladies flooded to it because it promised to not only keep them slim, but it would detox their body, keep their skin clear, and give them more energy. My mom saw this and was sure that she could have just as much success, though of course she wasn't allowed to sell it there. Kay brought a large tub of grounds for my mom and she drank almost 2 pots of it a day and became a repeat customer. She also made me, a 13-year-old mind you, drink it to help me lose all of my so-called baby fat, even though I was barely overweight and was growing through puberty. It made me sick every time I drank it, but my mom assured me that it was just detoxifying my unhealthy body and I should be thankful to Kay for helping me to be healthier. As you can probably guess, this made me develop an unhealthy relationship with food and my body. My mom posted almost exclusively about the company on her Facebook and went so far as to use photos of me because I was losing a lot of weight from the coffee from throwing up constantly due to it making me sick. And I developed bulimia and became addicted to losing weight and liked making my mom proud. Oh my goodness gracious. I wish I knew what company this was and that I could look up the specific weight loss coffee and look at the ingredients. I'm curious about the caffeine content because naturally caffeine is an appetite suppressant. So the more coffee you're drinking or the more caffeine you're consuming, the lower your appetite, the less volume of food you're likely going to be eating. And that correlation alone could lead to some weight loss, although not necessarily healthy. And just speaking from personal experience, coffee really upsets my stomach, even though I drink it every single day. I've learned my personal limits and I found that sweet spot, but truly drinking a ton of coffee or consuming a lot of caffeine in a day, it makes me feel physically ill. It makes me nauseous. I get stomach cramps. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. I'm sure the acidity has something to do with it too, but just in general, I don't feel great when I'm consuming a lot of it. So I can see where you're coming from and I can really empathize with how that would make you feel really, really sick if you're consuming this coffee supplement that your mom is giving you and you have that desire to keep making her proud and you want to continue taking it for that reason. But your story is a prime example of how pushing that kind of thing onto a young, impressionable person and telling them that they're overweight or that they have weight to lose and that if they consume this product that it's going to help them and they're therefore going to be better because of it, that's such a dangerous message to be telling anybody, but especially young teenagers. And you are the example of how something like that can turn into an eating disorder really quickly. And I'm sorry that that happened to you. That summer, she spent around $150 to $200 on samples of coffee to give out and to sell at the local business fair in a booth that she also had to pay for herself. Kay helped her set up and convinced her to use weight loss photos as a testimony to the legitimacy of the product, even though she only lost about 20 pounds from the coffee out of around 200 that she had lost overall. Kay also recommended I help run the booth and lie to anyone who asked any questions and to even tell them that I really enjoyed the product and it helped me be more confident in myself. I felt really uneasy about this, but I didn't have a choice. Oh man, having to lie to people saying, look at my great results and I feel so good using this product when behind the scenes you're battling an eating disorder and this is making you sick regularly. Oh, that's really, really tough. My mom didn't make any money in the 6 or so months that she was trying to sell it and ended up losing over $400 that we didn't have. Thankfully, she stopped selling it, but she did not stop buying it from Kay for almost 2 years because she really believed in it. Her and Kay are still friends to this day, and I think Kay also stopped selling, probably because there were only so many people to sell to and recruit in such a small town, especially without any social media literacy. I genuinely don't think Kay had any malintent and may have actually wanted to help my mom, but she definitely caused more harm than good as both my mom and I developed a very unhealthy relationship with food. I'm 21 now and I'm still struggling with my eating disorder even after residential treatment. I know people who are in MLMs only want to make money, but I do wonder if they ever think about all of the lives that they have ruined, especially in health and weight loss companies. If anyone out there is the kid of a parent who fell victim to these schemes and developed mental health problems because of it, I see you and I love you. We're all in this together. Wow, that was a really sweet way to end it. And you took the words right out of my mouth. I was about to say, because this is something I often wonder too, is like, do the people in MLMs realize the impact that they're having, the lifelong impact that their actions have caused? And like you said, maybe not intentionally, maybe not with malintent, but it still happened. And you just have to wonder, if your mom didn't get introduced to this weight loss coffee, if your mom didn't try and sell it, if she didn't encourage you to use it, would you be 21 years old still battling with that eating disorder? Maybe, but also maybe not. It's hard to say. Lots of people can develop eating disorders and have nothing to do with MLMs in the same way that people can be in MLMs and not develop eating disorders. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen occasionally. And I truly don't think that people who are in MLMs think far enough ahead and consider that long-term impact that their words and actions are having on that particular person, all in the name of making a sale at the end of the day. Kay likely never considered that her introducing these products to you and your mom would lead to a really damaged relationship with food later down the road. So I appreciate your vulnerability in sharing this story because it really does go to show what the consequences can be and how far these things can go. And I like to platform these experiences to show people that getting involved with MLM companies, whether that's consuming their products or joining these business opportunities, has the potential to create long-term negative impact. And that's worth considering before you decide to get involved with it. This one says, "Hi Hannah, I've been watching your MLM horror story videos for a few months now. I recently watched MLM Horror Stories number 57, and there was a story in that video where a woman thought she was being invited out on a date, but was misled and ended up at a sales pitch. Something similar happened to me back in 2013. There are a few locations involved in this story, so I hope it doesn't get too confusing. I am originally from Montreal, Canada, but I did my undergrad in Ottawa. During my undergrad, I would often bump into this girl who was a friend of a friend. Let's call her Tasha. Tasha and I were never friends or even acquaintances, but we did see each other around a lot because our friend groups overlapped. I graduated from my undergrad and I returned to Montreal. I had a hard time finding a job in my field right away, and so I decided that I would teach English as a second language in Europe over the summer, also known as ESL. The first ESL job I had was teaching English in summer camps in Italy. Upon arrival, all ESL teachers had to train together for 1 week at this compound. Lo and behold, one of the other teachers was Tasha. We couldn't believe the coincidence of running into each other abroad. We were immediately drawn towards each other and became fast friends on this trip. After that summer, I went back home to Montreal and Tasha went back to her hometown of Toronto, Canada. The two cities are about a 6-hour drive away from each other. Anyway, here's where we get into the MLM part of the story. About a year after teaching at the summer camps in Italy, Tasha sends me a Facebook message letting me know that she was coming to Montreal for the weekend and had one free night that she wanted to spend with me. We hadn't really kept in touch over the last year, so I was admittedly a bit surprised that she would want to spend time with me of all people, but I took it as a sincere attempt at a friendship. We can all see where this is going. I was grateful for it because anybody who's graduated and gone back to their hometowns knows how isolating it can sometimes be because many of your friends might have moved away and making new friends as an adult can be hard. I told her sure, and I was excited to show her around my city for one night. I asked her if she had anything specific in mind that she wanted to do, and she told me no. So I planned for us to grab dinner and to sightsee a little bit. She agreed with my plans. When she arrived in town, she sent me a message and asked that we meet in a restaurant in a part of the city that I wasn't familiar with. I thought this was very odd. I proposed a trendier restaurant elsewhere, but she insisted we go to this random place. I gave in and I traveled to this unknown industrial part of town and ended up at a restaurant which was a part of a hotel. I messaged her when I arrived and she came to greet me at the door of the restaurant. Immediately, something felt off and just plain weird. It felt like she was hosting me instead of the other way around. She proceeded to lead me to a table that was full of people. Yeah, hold up. She's like, hey, I'm coming to town. Do you want to hang out? And you're like, sure. Do you have anything in mind? What do you want to do? And she's like, oh, I don't have anything in mind. Whatever you want is fine. So then you plan this whole evening and then she switches it up on you last minute. And now all of a sudden you feel like you are the guest in your own hometown. That is bizarre. Obviously, we can see this coming a mile away. This is going to be an MLM pitch of some kind. But what strange behavior. That would be so off-putting to me. Like, why did you bring me to this random hotel and this random restaurant in this random part of town? I thought we were going to be hanging out and sightseeing and I was going to be showing you around, but now you seem like you're in control and you're hosting me. My guard would absolutely be up at that point. There were like 15 people sitting there. I was so confused. I had been under the impression that her and I were spending the evening together, and so I was shocked to see that she had come to a town with a group of people and had never mentioned it. I sat down awkwardly and didn't even get anything to eat because they had all already had dinner. One of the guys in the group suddenly announced that we would be meeting in the lobby in 15 minutes or so. I didn't know what was going on, so I asked Tasha what this was all about. She kept smiling maliciously and avoiding the question and saying things like, oh, just hold on, or I'll let you know in a little bit. She would laugh like this was all a big joke, and I was starting to get a little bit irritated. When we finally got to the lobby, everyone from dinner was sitting around on couches, and the guy from earlier was standing in front of the group like he was about to make a presentation. When he started speaking, he said that he was glad that everyone could make it out and wanted to go around the room so that everyone could give their why. I was now officially upset. What on earth was going on? One by one, people started saying things like, I'm here for my family, or I'm here because I'm tired of living paycheck to paycheck. When it finally got to me, I said, I have no idea what's going on. Tasha brought me here and hasn't said anything. Tasha then proceeds needs to start giggling. Even the presenter looked at her and said, "You didn't tell her what this was about?" Once everyone was done stating their why, the presenter went on to talk about this life-changing opportunity. I don't remember for certain what the name of the company was, but they were selling cell phone plans and services. I did some research and I believe they were with ACN. Anyway, I finally caught on that this was some kind of MLM retreat. I was so livid that someone I trusted and whom I thought genuinely wanted to build a friendship with me could be so conniving. Also, why on earth would she think that this was a good tactic to get me interested in the business? Why would she think deceiving someone would make them trust her enough to join her business? I was so mad I couldn't even hear the sales pitch properly. I felt violated, my time had been wasted, and I was incredibly hungry because I didn't even get to have dinner. I politely sat through the presentation and promptly left afterwards. I have not spoken to Tasha since that day. She never even tried reaching out after that. I've since had a few MLM encounters, some hey girl messages, a few approaches by strangers. Chapter's bookstore is a hotspot for recruitment, and even a cringy encounter with a colleague that has since put a huge strain on our working relationship. Maybe I'll submit that story in a separate email in the future. Keep up the good work. I've learned so much from your videos, and by the way, congrats on your pregnancy. I'm 37 weeks and will be binging your videos on maternity leave. That's pretty cool because, fun fact, I'm 38 weeks pregnant at the time of this video, and today is my last filming day of all the content that I'm pre-filming for my maternity leave. So kind of funny the timing with that. This has to be one of the most bizarre instances I've heard of someone being roped into an MLM pitch that they didn't know they were going to. Usually it's not this elaborate. Usually it's just kind of a one-on-one situation, like some old acquaintance invites you to a McDonald's or something, and it's more low-key, and although it's awkward, it's still just the two of you. This story is so strange, and I completely agree with everything you're saying here. Like, how did she think this was gonna be a good thing? Why on earth would she think that this is a good tactic? Why did she believe that this was gonna work on me? And what's even more weird to me is that you clearly showed up late, it seems like. You got there, everyone was already there, everyone already had dinner, so you're the one that seems like they're coming in late to this whole thing. But presumably you and Tasha had already agreed on a time to meet, unless you were running significantly late for your meeting with her. It seems like she gave you the impression to be here at this time, and when you showed up at that time, you were already late for it and you didn't get to eat dinner. Even that is weird to me. Everything about this is so strange. I've never heard anything like it, so thank you for sending this in. This one says, "Hi Hannah, my story is short, but it's one that I've never heard anyone else discuss. That being said, I find it hard to believe that it's an isolated incident, especially since it happened to me at least twice. I'd be curious to see if anyone has experienced something similar. No need to keep me anonymous. Quick context, I dealt with pretty severe mental health issues as a teenager, including bipolar disorder, anorexia, and self-harm. Although some of these conditions will be lifelong, I'm in a stable and happy place as an adult. Unsurprisingly, I was also in and out of the hospital, especially between the ages of 16 and 17. This would have been around 2013-2014. I had experience with several hospitals, one of which I was admitted to 3 separate times for inpatient care. This is where the oily Hun experiences took place. I don't believe it happened during all 3 stays, but it did in at least 2 of them. What I remember is being gathered up and brought down to the hospital's gymnasium and recreational area for a yoga class. This was actually extremely exciting at the time, since I've been a huge fan of yoga since around age 13. I've always found the practice to be incredibly relaxing and a great way to clear my mind, even if the effect was temporary. The yoga class itself was quick, maybe 10 minutes or so. It was followed by a brief meditation session. Then the lady pulled out the oils. Oh gosh. She would insist quite forcefully that we rub the oils on our skin and smell them. Apparently this would help improve our mental health or something. I have no idea. It was the pushiness that really stood out to me. I'm pretty sensitive to fragrances, so the idea of rubbing undiluted oils on my skin was less than appealing. I remember being extremely confused by the whole situation, as were some of the other girls I was in the hospital with. We would scurry to the other side of the gymnasium only to be pursued by the yoga teacher and then encouraged to rub oils on our wrists. Honestly, that's all I remember from these instances. I know I was confused at the time and I didn't really understand the point of the oil, nor why the woman was being so pushy about it. Fortunately, there were no direct attempts to sell or recruit, seeing as we were minors in a psych hospital. It's only a theory, but looking back, this truly feels like a Hun's attempt to show us the magical benefits of oils while we were still young and vulnerable. I don't remember if she provided any supplementary material or if she told us the company's she was with. While I can't 100% confirm that this was an MLM distributor, looking back on the situation makes my stomach turn. It feels incredibly off to me, especially knowing what I do now about essential oil companies and the dangerous anti-treatment doctrine they promote. Thanks so much for producing such kind, informative content. This wasn't my only Hun encounter over the years, but it's the one that has stuck with me. I'm really curious if anyone else has dealt with something similar. Yeah, I mean, this definitely feels off to me too, especially that she was so pushy about it. It makes you wonder, why was she so pushy? What was the purpose? What was the motive behind that? That kind of pushy behavior paired with the fact that what she's pushing is essential oils really does signal to me that she probably was in an MLM. What I don't understand is what she thought she was going to get out of this, because the audience of people that she is pitching to, I guess, or giving the product to try out is, like you said, minors in a psych hospital. Presumably that population of people doesn't just have money in their pocket to give her, but maybe she thought that people in that position might be in the market for some kind of natural approach to mental well-being or something. What this is kind of reminding me of is a story that I've read before. I couldn't tell you which video it's in at this point, but it was an origami owl rep. This is a jewelry company showing up to a high school band practice because one of the band members had passed away, and she came with a bunch of jewelry in tow and was like passing it out to the different band members. Again, high schoolers, underage people who are not in a position likely to buy anything or to sign up for this business opportunity, but it came across in such a way of like, here's my gift to you. And I think in that case, she gave out business cards or something. And it's like, if you want to purchase something in the future, let me know. If you want to sign up when you're 18, let me know. Maybe something similar is going on in this situation. That's all I can really think. But the fact that she's pushing oils so hard and she's pushing them specifically to people who are in a vulnerable position, that does signal to me that there could have been some MLM component to this. I would not be surprised in the least. And that, my friends, is all the horror stories I have for you for this video. Once again, if you have your own story, you can check out the description box below on how to send it to me. It's very easy. You just send me an email. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you in my next one real soon.